Peace. It's a word we speak often, long for deeply, and yet struggle to embody. In a world riddled with conflict, between nations, neighbors, ideologies, and even within ourselves, what does it truly mean to live non-violently? Is peace just the absence of fighting? Or is it something deeper? Something we carry in how we walk, how we speak, how we treat the most difficult people in our lives? Buddhism offers a radical answer, that non-violence isn't just an external behavior. It's a state of being. It's a discipline, a presence. And perhaps more than anything, it is a form of courage. The courage to meet a violent world without becoming violent ourselves. Welcome to the School of Buddha. In today's episode, we explore one of the most essential and transformative dimensions of Buddhist practice, non-violence and compassionate action. More than a philosophy, this is about how we move through daily life, how we respond to conflict, how we hold our anger, and how we choose love not as a feeling, but as a practice. First, let's talk about what non-violence really means in Buddhism. We often think of non-violence as something external, about not hitting, not shouting, not engaging in war. But in Buddhism, non-violence is something far more subtle and far more profound. It's not just about what you do with your hands, it's about what you carry in your heart. The Buddha used the term ahimsa, meaning non-harming, not just physically, but emotionally, psychologically, energetically. It's a complete shift in how we relate to life. Non-violence begins in the mind. It begins the moment you choose not to hate someone who's hurt you, the moment you soften your tone instead of snapping back, the moment you refuse to dehumanize the people you disagree with. Every time we indulge in resentment, in judgment, in the desire to get even, we move a little closer to violence. Even if we never raise a hand, our thoughts and intentions create ripples that eventually take form in our actions, in our words, and in the energy we radiate. Buddhist nonviolence isn't passive, it's active. It's the choice to cultivate peace within yourself so that you don't spread pain outward. It's restraint, yes, but not repression. It's presence, awareness, the wisdom to pause before reacting, the strength to witness anger without becoming anger, the bravery to ask, what is really needed here? This teaching is revolutionary in today's world, because today, outrage is currency, loudness is mistaken for strength, revenge is glorified. But Buddhism asks us to move in the opposite direction, not to be silent, but to be conscious, not to avoid conflict, but to meet it without the poison of hatred. True nonviolence is not weak. It's fiercely gentle, and it begins with the discipline of seeing yourself clearly, your impulses, your fears, your pain, and choosing not to pass that pain on to others. Now let's talk about the courage to face conflict. Without violence, conflict is inevitable. It's part of life. We'll clash with others. We'll be misunderstood. We'll face betrayal, injustice, and aggression. But the real question is, when conflict comes, how do we meet it? Do we escalate? Do we withdraw? Do we lose ourselves in the fire of reaction? The Buddha knew conflict well. His teachings challenged powerful social hierarchies. His presence threatened entrenched systems. He was insulted, accused, and even plotted against. But not once did he retaliate. Instead, he responded with unshakable stillness. He never fought back, but he never looked away either. That is the essence of nonviolence, the ability to face the flames without throwing fuel on the fire. This doesn't mean staying silent in the face of harm. Nonviolence is not the same as avoidance. It's not about being a doormat or tolerating injustice. It's about responding from principle, not from pain. It's about holding your ground without hardening your heart, speaking truth without weaponizing it, setting boundaries not to punish but to protect. That kind of clarity, especially when emotions are high, takes immense inner strength. It means staying connected to your values, even when you're being provoked. It means allowing someone else's anger to pass through you without lodging inside your chest. That's not weakness. That's mastery. Imagine facing an argument, and instead of trying to win, You try to understand. Imagine holding your tongue not out of fear, but out of compassion. Imagine calling someone in instead of calling them out. These are not small acts. They are deeply radical, and they're deeply needed. To practice nonviolence in a world fueled by division is not just spiritual, it's revolutionary. You are saying, I refuse to become what hurt me. I refuse to pass on the pain. I choose peace, not because it's easy, but because it's true. But what is compassionate action? The other side of the coin. Nonviolence is the commitment to not cause harm. But that's only half of the equation. Compassion is the other half. The conscious choice to actively relieve suffering. Where nonviolence says, I will not hurt you, compassion says, I will help you. Together they form the full expression of what it means to live awake, to live in harmony with the truth of our shared humanity. In Buddhism, this quality of the heart is known as karuṇā, the trembling of the heart in response to the suffering of others. It's not pity, it's not charity. It's the instinctive, deep-felt realization that their pain is not separate from yours. That when another being suffers, something in you is called to respond, not with panic or saviorism, but with calm presence and care. Compassionate action doesn't always look grand. In fact, it often looks ordinary. Holding space for a friend without offering solutions. Letting someone merge into traffic when you're in a hurry. Taking a moment to look into a stranger's eyes with warmth. It's the smile that interrupts someone's self-doubt. The phone call made when someone is going silent. The forgiveness you offer without being asked. These are the small gestures that repair a broken world. But the hardest compassion is the one directed inward. We're so used to extending empathy outward while starving ourselves of it. So ask yourself, when you fail, can you speak to yourself gently? When you're tired, can you allow yourself rest without shame? When you're hurting, can you place a hand on your own heart and say, this too deserves care? Living compassionately is not about becoming a saint. It's about expanding your capacity to stay open when the world tries to close you. To keep your heart soft in a culture that rewards hardness. To keep showing up, for others, yes, but also for yourself. And here's the truth, when compassion becomes your reflex, nonviolence becomes your nature. You don't need to try to be peaceful. You are peace. Not because you're passive, but because you've rooted yourself in love. And from that place, your very presence begins to heal. But how should we be practicing nonviolence and compassion daily? It's one thing to admire these ideals, to understand them intellectually. It's another thing entirely to live them on a Monday morning, in traffic, running late, after a rough night's sleep. That's where the real practice begins. That's where the path of the Buddha leaves the cushion and enters your kitchen, your workplace, your texts, your tone, your pause before reacting. Nonviolence and compassion aren't practices reserved for monasteries. They are tested in the messiness of everyday life, in your relationships, your parenting, your decision-making, and your smallest habits. Every moment you choose not to snap, not to judge, not to shut down, you are training the heart. You are becoming someone who brings less harm into the world. Start where it's hardest. Maybe it's with someone who constantly triggers you. Maybe it's with a part of yourself you habitually reject. Maybe it's with a situation you can't control. Don't aim for perfection. Aim for presence. Can you pause? Can you breathe? Can you make space for a wiser response? And remember, you don't have to solve everyone's problems to live compassionately. Sometimes your calm energy, your steady presence, your quiet refusal to escalate, that is enough. Compassion is not always an action. Sometimes it's a way of being, a silent offering, a non-reaction, a warm gaze that says, I see you. I care. One of the most radical things you can do today is to not add to the noise, to not feed the fire, to be the person in the room who listens, who softens, who stays rooted when everyone else is reactive. That's what Buddhist compassion looks like in motion. Not loud, not dramatic, just real, consistent, steady. So as you go through your day, keep asking yourself, am I contributing to peace or pulling away from it? Am I building connection or guarding myself with judgment? Am I reacting from habit or responding from love? Every time you choose to pause, to soften, to care, you're not just changing that moment. You're changing the pattern. You're showing your nervous system, your family, your community. There is another way. And that, quietly, courageously, changes the world. Before we conclude, let's be honest. This world is hard on the heart. There's noise everywhere, arguments that never end, injustices that seem too big to face, people hurting each other and themselves over and over again. And in the middle of all that, it's easy to feel small. It's easy to think, what difference can I possibly make? How can I choose peace when everything around me feels chaotic? But the Buddha's path reminds us, peace doesn't begin out there. It begins in here, in your breath, in your tone, in your decision to not pass on the pain you inherited. You can't always control the world, but you can control what you carry into it. Being nonviolent doesn't mean you never feel rage. It means you don't let that rage own you. Being compassionate doesn't mean you fix everyone's suffering. It means you refuse to turn away. That, in a world built on blame, you keep choosing presence. That, when harm feels easier, you choose the harder, softer path instead. That's the real practice. Not the theory of nonviolence, but the discipline of it. The daily choice to be a vessel, not for reaction, but for healing. To let your words be medicine, your silence be sanctuary, your boundaries be rooted in love, not fear. And here's the miracle of it all. You don't need to do anything grand. You just need to show up. Show up as someone who's trying, who's choosing honesty over aggression, kindness over sarcasm, care over indifference. Show up as someone who listens before speaking, who breathes before judging, who forgives first and quietly, because they know holding on only deepens the wound. You may never see the full impact of this path, but know this. Someone will feel safer because you didn't lash out. Someone will feel heard because you slowed down. Someone will soften because you didn't meet them with force. And all of that matters, more than we'll ever know. Thank you for being here, and for being the kind of person who even wants to walk this path. That alone is rare and beautiful. In our next episode of the School of Buddha, we'll explore the idea of right livelihood, what it means to align your work, your purpose, and your daily efforts with the heart of Buddhist ethics. Until then, be gentle with yourself, be steady in the storm, and never forget, your presence, your calm, awake, honest presence, is already a kind of peace.